Hello everyone. A previous class we had discussed about the musculocutaneous nerve injury. Prior to that we have discussed about the classifications of nerve injuries where we talked about Seddon's classification and Sunderland's classification. Sunderland classification was first degree, second degree, third degree, fourth degree and fifth degree type of nerve injuries, whereas Seddon's classification was neuropraxia, exontomesis and neurotomesis. So keeping those things in mind, we will move forward with another topic, that is axillary nerve injury. So axillary nerve derives from the posterior cord of the brachial plexus. Axillary nerve lies very close to the surgical neck of the humerus. It supplies the motor supply to the deltoid as well as to the teres minor. It also gives a branch that is called as upper cutaneous nerve of the arm. The root value of the axillary nerve is C5, C6. So this is the simple course of axillary nerve. Axillary nerve lies in the quadrilateral space. What is quadrilateral space? It is formed by the four structures, that is, those are teres minor above here, teres minor, then below teres major. On the medial side there is the long head of triceps. On lateral side we have medial aspect of the proximal humerus. Some of the common causes for axillary nerve injury are fracture of the surgical neck of humerus. As the nerve lies very close to the neck of humerus, if there is a fracture at the proximal part of the humerus, it has high chance of injuring the axillary nerve. The dislocation of the shoulder, mainly inferior dislocation, also can cause the axillary nerve injury. Traction injury, fall on outstretched hand, any kind of trauma also can cause axillary nerve injury. Improperly used supportive equipment such as crutches. If the length of the crutches is too long, that it may compress the axillary nerve inside the axilla. Some other causes are tight cast, POP cast after fracture, or any kinds of splints. If it is strapped too tight at the axillary area, it may cause axillary nerve injury. The clinical features of axillary nerve injury are loss of sensation over the skin over a small part of lateral upper arm. You can see the dermatome level here, the anterior aspect of the skin which is supplied by axillary nerve and the posterior aspect. There will be weakness of abduction as well as slight flexion weakness will be there, and extension. The main weakness would be abduction. Paralysis of the deltoid and teres minor are responsible for reduction in abduction as well as extension. There also will be weakness of flexion. We also can see in observation or inspection there will be a flat shoulder deformity, as you can see in the picture, because of the atrophy of the deltoid muscle. There will be easy fatigue, especially with overhead activities and heavy lifting as well as throwing. These are some of the clinical features that we can see in axillary nerve injury. The test that we can perform, special test to confirm if it is axillary nerve injury, is the extension lag sign. Here the therapist elevates the patient's arm to the near full extension, as you can see in the picture. Then we ask the patient to actively maintain that position while therapist releases his support. If patient is not able to maintain that position, that means the posterior fiber of the deltoid is totally weak and patient cannot maintain that full extension position. In that case, we can say that the test is positive for axillary nerve injury. Management for axillary nerve injury: in surgical procedure, they use neurolysis, where they release the nerve sheath by cutting it longitudinally. This operation breaks up the perineural adhesion, and the second option is nerve grafting, where they use the sural nerve commonly used for nerve grafting. Physiotherapy managements are for problems such as muscle weakness, which is deltoid and teres minor, supplied by axillary nerve, sensory loss, dermatomal level of the axillary nerve, pain to the area of deltoid and anterior shoulder, which are common because of axillary nerve injury, shoulder joint stiffness, capsular tightness could occur. Why does this shoulder stiffness occur? Because of the immobilization. Patient is not able to perform abduction. There will be reduced range of motion at the shoulder joint or glenohumeral joint, because of which patient won't be able to perform normal functions, and therefore the capsules or the joint becomes tight and stiff. Muscle shortness also can be seen for shoulder adductors, as the patient is not able to take the arm towards abduction. Therefore, the adductor muscles may go for shortness. Adductor muscles, for example, subscapularis, teres major, teres minor, etc., and pectoralis major. To improve sensory function, similar to musculocutaneous nerve, the management would be sensory stimulation by using the technique of pinching and tapping, brushing, icing, etc., which are regularly used over the dermatomal level. For pain relief, we can use massage, effleurage, tense, low-level laser therapy, and relaxation techniques. For reducing stiffness, we can maintain the range of motion by performing passive range of motion if patient is not able to perform actively, and we can perform shoulder mobilizations. We can perform shoulder mobilization to improve the range of motion of the stiff shoulder. We know the techniques of shoulder mobilization such as anterior-posterior glide. Anterior-posterior glide is given to improve the flexion or internal rotation. Posterior anterior glide is given to improve extension and lateral rotation, and superior inferior glide is given to improve abduction. Coming to strengthening, which is the major rehabilitation program for nerve injury, we have discussed already in musculocutaneous nerve injury that the strengthening technique depends on MMT findings. If the MMT finding was grade 1 or 0, that means there is only flicker of contraction or no contraction at all, or the muscle is totally paralyzed, we can maintain the strength or improve circulation to the muscle or maintain the bulk of the muscle by giving muscle stimulation. Until the Wallerian degeneration process is over, we have to keep giving muscle stimulation. If the MMT finding is grade 2, then suspension therapy would be given. If MMT grade is 2 plus, then active assisted range of motion exercises has to be given. If MMT grade is 3, that means patient can perform movement against gravity to the full range. Then we can give active assisted range of motion exercises, because in grade 3, patient can perform actively to the full range. If MMT is grade 3 plus and above, then we have to start with progressive resistance exercises. Initially, we'll be giving the less intensity, that is less weights, and gradually we'll increase the intensity as the strength of the muscle improves. Which muscle strengthening we'll be focusing here mainly? We'll be focusing for anterior deltoid to improve flexion, middle deltoid to improve abduction, and posterior deltoid to improve extension. For MMT, which is below grade 2, we will be giving passive range of motion exercises to maintain the muscle um, mobility as well as maintain the range, and we will be giving muscle stimulation. If we find the muscle strength on MMT is grade 2, then we will be performing suspension therapy for strengthening the shoulder abductors, that is middle fiber of deltoid. So we'll ask the patient to perform shoulder abduction in supine lying position where the arm will be suspended on the suspension. We will instruct the patient to perform 10 repetitions of abduction for 3 sets. If the strength of the muscle improves from grade 2 to grade 2 plus, Then we will apply active assisted range of motion exercises. After that, if it improves to grade 3, then we'll ask the patient to perform active range of motion exercises. And once the muscle reaches 3 plus, or if initially the muscle is 3 plus, then we'll start with progressive resistance exercises. So for shoulder abductors, the deltoid, progressive resistance exercise can be used by using weight cuffs. So the weight cuffs will be strapped on the distal part of the upper limb and will ask the patient to perform abduction. So weight cuffs will be strapped on the distal part of the upper limb and will instruct the patient to perform abduction for 10 repetitions into 3 sets. We also can use TheraBand for shoulder abductors if the muscle power is more than grade 3. So TheraBand vectors should be aligned properly so that it provides resistance against the abduction. We also can use weights, free weights like dumbbells for strengthening the abductors. For improving shoulder flexor strength, that is anterior fiber of the deltoid, for grade 2, we'll ask the patient to perform flexion when the patient is in side lying position and the arm is suspended on the sling. Once the strength reaches grade 2 plus, then we can perform active assisted range of motion exercises, and after that, if the strength reaches grade 3, then we can instruct the patient to perform active range of motion exercises for 10 repetitions into 3 sets. After 2 to 3 weeks of training, patient's strength reaches grade 3 plus, then we can start with resistance exercises using TheraBand, free weights, asking the patient to perform flexion against the resistance, or by using weight cuffs. So weight cuffs are strapped around the distal part of the upper limb. So weight cuffs are mostly used when patient doesn't have grip strength. And once the weight cuffs are fixed, we'll ask the patient to perform flexion against the resistance of the weight cuff for 10 repetitions into 3 sets and train until the weight can be increased progressively. If the strength of the shoulder extensors are grade 3, then we can apply resistance. Patient will be in standing position, leaning forward and taking the support from the couch, where patient can perform extension activating the posterior fibers of the deltoid. These are some of the techniques to strengthen the muscle if the axillary nerve is injured.